Unexpected arrival. The Galactic Defense Academy's main hangar hummed with activity as vessels of various configurations arrived, each depositing new recruits from across the known universe. Standing apart from the chaos, Admiral HFY observed the proceedings with 6 golden eyes that missed nothing. His scaled skin, the color of burnished copper, tensed slightly as a particularly small transport approached. "The human has arrived," announced his aide, a slender Thulian whose translucent skin pulsed with nervous energy. Admiral HFY's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement. "Let us see if the Alliance Council's gamble pays off." The transport's doors hissed open, revealing the solitary figure. Specialist Maya Chen stepped onto the platform with confident strides that belied her status as the first human ever admitted to the Academy. She stood 5'9", athletic but unremarkable by galactic standards. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation knot, and her olive-toned skin bore the scars of previous combat experience. Earth's resource wars, according to her file. "Specialist Chen," the Admiral addressed her formally. "Welcome to Outpost Epsilon." Maya saluted crisply. "Thank you, Admiral. It's an honor to represent Earth." The Admiral's expression remained unreadable. "You understand you are here as an experiment. The Council believes humans may have unique qualities worth integrating into our defense forces." "I'm aware of my position, sir," Maya replied evenly. A commotion near the main entrance drew their attention. A towering figure strode through the crowd, lesser cadets scattering from his path. Commander Krex, heir to the Vraxian War Council and the Academy's most decorated cadet, moved with the casual arrogance of someone who had never known defeat. Standing over 8 feet tall with iridescent black scales covering a frame of pure muscle, Krex represented the pinnacle of Vraxian genetic enhancement. His species had evolved as apex predators and had further refined their natural abilities through centuries of selective breeding and genetic manipulation. His golden eyes narrowed as they fell on Maya. "This is the new species?" he asked, his universal translator doing little to hide the contempt in his voice. "This is what the Council believes will help us against the Void Collective." Admiral HFY's voice carried a warning. "Commander Krex, Specialist Chen is here by direct order of the Alliance Council." Krex circled Maya, examining her as one might inspect an inferior weapon. Fragile, small, no natural armor, no enhanced senses. He snorted, a sound like grinding metal. What purpose could this creature serve? Maya stood perfectly still, her face betraying nothing. The Admiral had briefed her on the Vraxian temperament. Their species valued displays of strength above all else. Showing fear or offense would only validate Krex's assessment. "Perhaps we should allow Specialist Chen to demonstrate her capabilities in due time," the Admiral suggested, a subtle command beneath his words. Krex ignored him. "I studied your species' combat records. Primitive projectile weapons, rudimentary energy shields, no genetic enhancements." He leaned down until his face was inches from Maya's. "What could you possibly teach us about warfare?" Maya met his gaze. "Adaptation." The single word seemed to amuse Krex. "Very well. I propose an assessment." He turned to the Admiral. "With your permission, I would like to personally evaluate the human's combat readiness." The Admiral's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of concern in his species. "That would be premature. Specialist Chen has not yet completed orientation." "I accept," Maya interrupted. A murmur ran through the gathering crowd of cadets. The Admiral's aide whispered urgently, "This is unprecedented. Commander Krex has 17 consecutive combat victories. He's broken bones in exhibition matches." Maya kept her eyes on Krex. "When and where?" Krex's mouth split in what passed for a smile among his kind, rows of serrated teeth designed for tearing through armor. "The central arena. 1 standard hour. Unarmed combat." As he stalked away, the Admiral turned to Maya. "That was unwise, Specialist. Commander Krex is not merely strong. He represents the culmination of 10 generations of genetic enhancement. His reaction time alone is 3 times faster than your species average. Maya nodded. I read his file. Sir, then you know this is suicide. Maya allowed herself a small smile. With respect, Admiral, this is precisely why I'm here. News of the impromptu combat evaluation spread through the Academy like wildfire. By the time Maya entered the central arena, the observation decks were packed with cadets from dozens of species, all eager to witness the humans' inevitable humiliation. The arena itself was a marvel of galactic engineering, a circular platform composed of adaptive materials that could change density and texture to simulate various combat environments. Currently, it was set to standard gravity with high-friction flooring, optimal conditions for Fraxian combat techniques. Maya wore the standard-issue training uniform, which seemed laughably inadequate compared to Krex's natural armor. She performed basic stretches as she waited, ignoring the whispers and occasional laughter from the audience. The Academy's combat instructor, a veteran Draconid named Master Tholek, approached her with concern evident in his 4 eyes. Specialist, it's not too late to postpone this evaluation. No one would question your decision. Thank you for your concern, Master Tholek, Maya replied, continuing her stretches. But this needs to happen. The instructor's tail swished anxiously. Commander Krex has broken every record in the Academy's history. He was specifically bred for combat excellence. Maya straightened up. So I've heard. Before Tholek could respond further, a horn sounded. Krex entered from the opposite side of the arena to thunderous applause. He wore no additional protection. His natural scales were sufficient. He carried himself with absolute confidence, acknowledging the crowd's adoration with a raised claw. Admiral Zexferi's voice echoed through the arena. This exhibition match will follow standard Academy protocols. Victory is achieved through submission, incapacitation, or by my direct intervention. Both combatants have agreed to these terms. Maya and Krex approached the center of the arena. Up close, the size difference was even more pronounced. Krex towered over her, his massive frame blocking the light. It's not too late to withdraw, Krex said, loud enough for the front rows to hear. I might even respect such wisdom coming from a lesser species. Maya simply moved into a neutral stance, hands open at her sides. Master Tholek raised his arm between them. Combatants ready. He looked at each of them in turn, then slashed his arm downward. Begin. Krex moved with startling speed for his size. His right arm shot forward in a strike that could shatter concrete, aimed directly at Maya's chest. The crowd gasped collectively. Such an opening move would typically be reserved for armored opponents. What happened next silenced the entire arena. Maya wasn't there. She had shifted, not dodged, not jumped, but simply adjusted her position by the smallest margin necessary. Krex's devastating blow met nothing but air, the momentum carrying his massive frame slightly off balance. In that fraction of a second, Maya struck. A simple open palm hit to Krex's extended elbow joint, precisely where the scales overlapped to allow movement. Not powerful enough to damage, but perfectly placed to send a shock through the nerve cluster beneath. Krex's arm went momentarily numb. His expression shifted from confidence to confusion, then to rage. He roared and launched into a flurry of attacks, claws slashing, feet stomping, tail whipping through the air with enough force to decapitate. Maya moved like water, never attempting to block the overwhelmingly powerful strikes, but instead redirecting, evading, or slipping through the smallest openings in Krex's offense. Each time she moved, she delivered a precise strike to a nerve cluster or pressure point. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the most fearsome cadet in Academy history unleashed his full arsenal against the human, who seemed to be expending minimal effort in response. After 2 minutes of increasingly frantic attacks, Krex was breathing heavily, not from exertion, but from growing panic. Nothing in his experience had prepared him for an opponent he couldn't hit. Worse, parts of his body were growing numb from Maya's seemingly ineffectual touches. Stand still and fight. he roared, frustration evident in his voice. Maya finally spoke, her voice calm. I am fighting. You're just not seeing it. Enraged, Krex charged forward with his full body weight, a technique that had shattered the ribs of his last 3 opponents. Maya sidestepped at the last possible moment, using 2 fingers to press a specific point at the base of Krex's skull as he passed. The massive Vraxian froze mid-stride, then collapsed to the floor, completely paralyzed. The silence in the arena was absolute. Maya knelt beside the fallen commander, pressing several points along his spine in rapid succession. Feeling returned to Krex's limbs, though he remained on the ground, staring up at her with incomprehension. How? He managed to ask. Neurological manipulation, Maya explained quietly. Your species has 17 major nerve clusters that control voluntary movement. Precisely applied pressure can temporarily disrupt the signals between brain and body. Admiral Zexveri's voice broke the silence. Victory to Specialist Chen. No one applauded. No one cheered. The cadets and instructors remained frozen in collective shock as Maya helped Krex to his feet. The Vraxian commander stood unsteadily, his worldview visibly shattered. As Maya walked from the arena, the whispers began, not of ridicule, but of fear. The human had defeated their champion without throwing a single punch. Admiral Zexveri met her at the exit, his expression unreadable. The council will be interested in your performance today, Specialist. Maya nodded. That was the idea, sir. You could have ended that fight in seconds, the Admiral observed. Why prolong it? Maya glanced back at Krex, who was being assisted by medical staff despite having no actual injuries. The lesson wasn't just for him, Admiral. It was for everyone watching. The Admiral's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. And what lesson was that exactly? Maya's expression remained neutral. That humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. Hidden strengths. The Academy's medical bay hummed with activity as specialists from 3 different species examined Commander Krex. Despite their advanced scanning technology, they could find no physical damage, no broken bones, no torn muscles, not even bruising. Yet the mighty Vraxian warrior had been completely incapacitated by a handful of light touches from the human. Impossible, muttered Chief Medical Officer Vrental, her forearms manipulating holographic displays of Krex's nervous system. The pressure required to disrupt Vraxian neural pathways would break human finger bones. Across the Academy, similar conversations were taking place. In the officers' mess, instructors debated in hushed tones. In dormitories, cadets reviewed grainy footage captured on personal devices, analyzing Maya's movements frame by frame. In the Admiral's private chambers, a secure transmission to the Alliance Council was underway. The human exceeded all projections, Admiral Zexveri reported. She neutralized our top combat specialists without sustaining or inflicting any actual damage. The holographic faces of the council members betrayed various reactions: surprise, skepticism, interest. Could this be an anomaly? Asked Councillor Thex, her feathered crest rippling with concern. Perhaps Commander Krex was unprepared for human combat techniques. The Admiral's mandibles clicked in negation. Krex has defeated 17 different species in combat. He is specifically trained to adapt to unknown fighting styles. He paused. This was different. The human demonstrated knowledge of Vraxian physiology that should be impossible for her species to possess. A different counselor leaned forward, scales gleaming in the light of a distant sun. What are you suggesting, Admiral? I'm suggesting we've underestimated them, Zexveri replied. All of them. Meanwhile, Maya sat alone in her assigned quarters, eyes closed in meditation. The room was Spartan by human standards. A sleep platform, a nutrition station, and a small desk with access to the Academy's information network. She had been allocated the same space as any other new cadet, despite the fact that human environmental needs differed significantly from the Academy standard. A chime at her door broke her concentration. Enter, she called. The door slid open to reveal Master Tholek, the combat instructor. The Draconid's tail swished nervously as he stepped inside. "Specialist Chen," he began formally, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." Maya stood and gestured to the room's single chair while she sat on the edge of the sleep platform. "Not at all, Master Tholek. What can I do for you?" The instructor remained standing. "I've reviewed the combat footage 17 times. Your technique is unlike anything in our database. Is that why you're here?" Professional curiosity. Tholek's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of discomfort in his species. "Partially. But I'm also here because Commander Krex has requested a rematch." Maya raised an eyebrow. That was fast. "Vraxians don't process defeat well," Tholek explained, "especially public defeat. His status within the Academy has been compromised. And you're concerned he might seek revenge outside official channels." The instructor's tail stilled, a confirmation. Krex comes from a warrior lineage that dates back millennia. His entire identity is built around combat superiority. Maya nodded. "I understand. When does he want this rematch?" "Tomorrow. The advanced combat simulator." Tholek hesitated. "He's requested multiple terrain, variable gravity conditions. Settings that would favor his enhanced strength and reflexes," Maya observed. "Yes, and he's within his rights to request these parameters as the challenged party." Tholek studied her with all 4 eyes. "I came to warn you because I've never seen anyone fight like you did today. Our academy trains warriors from across the galaxy, yet none have your efficiency." Maya smiled slightly. "Thank you for the warning, Master Tholek. I'll be ready." After the instructor left, Maya returned to her meditation, but her mind was elsewhere. She knew what tomorrow would bring, not just a rematch with a wounded predator, but the next phase of her actual mission. The following day, the advanced combat simulator was filled beyond capacity. Word of the rematch had spread throughout the academy, and even off-duty personnel had found excuses to observe. The simulator itself was the academy's pride, a massive chamber whose environment could be completely reconfigured in seconds, simulating everything from gas giant atmospheres to microgravity asteroid fields. Admiral Zexveri stood on the observation deck, surrounded by his senior staff and a holographic projection of 3 council members who had interrupted important diplomatic functions to witness the event. Below, Krex entered the chamber to significantly less enthusiasm than the previous day. The Vraxian moved with deadly purpose, his golden eyes fixed on the opposite entrance. When Maya appeared, the crowd grew quiet. Master Tholek stood between them, explaining the rules. The environment will shift every 60 seconds. Combatants must adapt to changing terrain, gravity, and atmospheric conditions. Victory conditions remain standard. Krex bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. "No more games, human. No more tricks." Maya adjusted the environmental suit all combatants were required to wear in the simulator. "No tricks, Commander. Just combat." Tholek raised his arm. Simulation beginning in 3, 2, 1. The chamber transformed. What had been a flat, empty space became a rocky landscape with 1.3 times standard gravity, similar to Krex's homeworld. The Vraxian's posture immediately changed, his body perfectly adapted to the conditions. Maya, by contrast, seemed to struggle with the increased weight, her movements slower. Krex attacked immediately, using the terrain to his advantage. He launched himself from a boulder, his massive frame hurtling toward Maya with devastating force. This time, she couldn't simply sidestep. The rocky ground limited her mobility, and the higher gravity slowed her reflexes. The impact sent her sprawling. Krex pressed his advantage, moving with surprising speed for his size, raining down blows that Maya barely managed to avoid. The crowd murmured. This was the outcome they had expected yesterday. Just as Krex seemed to gain the upper hand, a tone sounded. The environment shifted again. Rocky terrain melted away, replaced by a swampy landscape with thick, viscous liquid underfoot and heavy humidity. Gravity normalized, but movement became more difficult for everyone. Krex's momentum faltered as his feet sank into the simulated muck. Maya, however, adjusted quickly. Using the swamp to her advantage, she maneuvered around Krex, staying just out of reach while he struggled to maintain his footing. "Stop running." Krex snarled, frustration evident in his voice. "I'm not running," Maya replied calmly. "I'm adapting." Each time the environment changed, the dynamics of the fight shifted. In high gravity, Krex dominated. In low gravity, Maya's superior agility gave her the edge. On stable ground, Krex's strength was overwhelming. In complex terrain, Maya's adaptability kept her one step ahead. By the fifth environment change, a simulated ice field with low gravity, both combatants showed signs of fatigue. Krex's attacks had become more desperate, more reckless. Maya remained defensive, conserving energy, waiting. "What are you waiting for?" Krex demanded, his breath visible in the cold simulation. "Fight me properly." Maya circled him cautiously. "I am fighting you properly. You're just not seeing the battle." "Enough riddles," Krex roared, charging forward. The tone sounded again. The ice field vanished, replaced by standard academy conditions: normal gravity, flat floor, neutral temperature. The sudden shift caught Krex off guard, his charge faltering momentarily. In that instant, Maya attacked, not with the light touches of yesterday, but with a flurry of precise strikes targeting specific points on Krex's body. Each hit landed exactly where she intended, despite Krex's attempts to defend himself. The Vraxian commander fought back ferociously, but Maya had taken the initiative. She moved inside his guard, neutralizing his reach advantage, striking nerve clusters and pressure points in rapid succession. Krex's movements became increasingly uncoordinated as his nervous system struggled to cope with the targeted assault. Finally, after a particularly precise strike to a cluster at the base of his spine, Krex collapsed to one knee, his right arm hanging useless at his side. "Yield," Maya said quietly. Krex tried to rise, managing only to stagger forward a step before falling to both knees. "What have you done to me?" "Temporary neural disruption," Maya explained. "It will wear off in approximately 20 minutes. The Vraxian's golden eyes blazed with fury and incomprehension. "How? You're just human." "That's precisely why," came Admiral Zexferi's voice as he entered the simulator chamber. "Specialist Chen, I believe you've made your point." Maya stepped back, allowing medical personnel to attend to Krex. The Admiral gestured for her to follow him away from the crowd. "The Council has seen enough," he said once they were alone. "They're ready to proceed with the integration program." Maya nodded. "And Commander Krex? He'll recover, physically and psychologically." This was a necessary demonstration. For him, or for the Council. The Admiral's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Both. The Alliance faces extinction against the Void Collective. We needed to confirm our theory about human potential." Maya fixed the Admiral with a steady gaze. "And did you confirm your theory?" "Indeed. While most species in the Alliance evolved as specialists, Vraxians as apex predators, Thulians as empaths, my own kind as strategic thinkers, humans evolved as generalists." The Admiral's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "You have no natural armor, no overwhelming strength, no inherent psychic abilities. Instead, you developed something far more valuable. Adaptability," Maya finished. "Precisely. Your species can study and incorporate the fighting techniques of any opponent. You can function in environments that would kill specialized species. You can analyze weaknesses with remarkable efficiency." The Admiral's voice lowered. "The Void Collective adapts constantly. Our specialized forces cannot keep pace with their evolution. But humans, we've been adapting our entire history," Maya said. "It's what we do best." As they walked toward the exit, Maya could feel the stares of cadets and instructors alike. The whispers had changed, no longer dismissive, but curious, even respectful. Admiral Zexveri paused at the door. The first transport of human recruits arrives tomorrow. They will need guidance from someone who understands both worlds. He fixed all 6 eyes on her. Are you prepared for that responsibility, Specialist Chen? Maya thought of Earth, of the resource wars that had nearly destroyed her civilization, of the countless adaptations her species had made throughout their bloody history. She thought of the Void Collective, an enemy that evolved faster than the Alliance could develop countermeasures. She nodded. We're always prepared, Admiral. That's what makes us human. Behind them, in the simulator chamber, Krex watched their departure with new understanding in his golden eyes. The defeat stung, but the warrior in him recognized something important. He had just witnessed the future of galactic warfare. And for the first time in generations, his species might not be at the forefront. The age of human adaptation had begun.